And well, before we get into all of the action that we just previewed at the top of the show, we'll begin tonight with some breaking news from Rams sports that just hit the seams a few hours ago. Madeline's with us to provide some more information on what seems like a significant grant to CSU women's athletics. Madeline?
Thanks, Ella. Throughout this year, Colorado State Athletics has led with the Impact 50 campaign, an effort to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Title IX. And well, as of earlier today, CSU is pleased to announce that it has received a $5 million gift from the Bohemian Foundation that will be used to benefit women's athletics on campus for years to come. That's right, $5 million, which you guessed it, happens to be the largest gift in Mountain West history devoted solely to women's sports. The most immediate impact of the funds will be seen through facility renovation projects for both women's soccer and softball, as well as through a jumpstart for the second phase of the Moby Locker Room project, which will aim to create expanded locker rooms for spaces for volleyball, softball, and soccer. Oh, and golf, tennis, and track and field will also benefit from these state-of-the-art facilities in Moby too, thanks to a dedicated weightlifting area. So yeah, this is a huge win for women's athletics, and we aren't done talking about it yet. So stay tuned for the next couple of weeks for a more detailed review of this grant and what it means going forward from yours truly. And with that, I'll hand things back to you guys.
Speaking for all of those at CTV who were female athletes at one point or another, I know this gift means so much as we have dealt with funding issues our entire sports careers. But speaking of women's sports, after a rough loss against Arkansas Thursday, Florida Gulf Coast came to Moby Arena as the Rams hoped to break the losing streak they had fallen into recently. To open the festivities, CSU had a performance reminiscent to their matchups last week against Northern Colorado and Arkansas. And although the green and gold managed to keep it much closer, they still dropped the first set 23-25. Worries started to settle in as surrendering the second set seemed likely. However, the Rams used the last two matchups prior learning opportunities, embracing head coach Tom Hilbert's emphasis on energy and effort. That combined with consistent serving helped the Rams, which followed even bigger deficits in sets 3 and 4. Barrett Power went on a 6-0 service run in the third to revamp that momentum to finish off the Eagles 3-1. Kennedy Stanford led this one with 11 kills, while fellow teammates Annie Sullivan and Jackie Van Liefde also contributed nicely with 9 of their own. While the Eagles managed to come away with 15 more kills than the Rams, the hitting percentage spoke otherwise, ultimately not affecting the final result. Annie Sullivan had this to say about the team's performance.
I think one thing is that we came out super strong. We knew this was going to be an important match, and after 2 losses, we really wanted a win under our belt. And one thing that I think we did is we played super clean. I think the past 2 matches we'd made a lot of unforced errors, and this game we kind of played clean in our volleyball, and that helped us secure the win.
A mere 19 hours later, the Rams welcomed Alabama State to conclude the opening 2-week Moby slate and build off that FGCU momentum from the night before. Where on Saturday evening, the game was the first sweep of the season for the Rams as they brutally outscored the Hornets in the first set 25-14. Though they fell behind briefly in the next one, using Moby to their advantage, CSU stormed right back for a narrow 2-point victory. At that point, Alabama State knew it was over, seeming to plainly give up, mustering only 8 points in the final set to allow the Rams to secure a clean 3-0 sweep. CSU now can enjoy a much-needed break until Thursday when they travel to Waco, Texas to take on top competitor Baylor. Mike, what can you tell us about that upcoming trip?
Thanks, Ella. Well, if you thought the past week was tough, get ready for the 15th ranked Baylor Bears, and Coach Ryan McGuire's squad has experienced an interesting start to the 2022 season, to say the least, with impressive victories also invaded by head-scratching performances. After beating Big Ten powerhouse and top 5 Wisconsin, Baylor then dropped in 4 sets to a small private university on the West Coast in Pepperdine. Now, don't get me wrong, the Waves are actually looking really good this year, sporting a 5-1 record, with the loss coming courtesy of second-ranked Nebraska. So maybe the loss isn't too bad, but it was definitely a surprise, especially considering the fact that Baylor beat number 3 Wisconsin just days before. Nevertheless, in my opinion, Baylor will be CSU's toughest competition to date and perhaps all year. Baylor's net presence when it comes to blocking is elite, so the Rams will need to play their best volleyball, avoiding any errors or miscues if they want to begin the Baylor Invitational with a win. That would be quite the treat heading into the succeeding matches against Evansville and Arizona State. But that's enough of volleyball. Ella, I think I know the unfortunate answer, but how did we do in football this past Saturday?
Well, Mike, not so great. Although it was a big task to take on Michigan week 1, and there were definitely still some positive takeaways regardless of the scoreboard. For the sake of it though, let's take a brief look at the scoreline. And yeah, in front of almost 110,000 fans, the Rams fought their hardest against by far their most difficult competition of the season, suffering a lopsided 51-7 defeat. The offensive Fort Air Raid, led by new quarterback Clay Millen, was incredibly quiet all 4 quarters. With some gaps in the O-line that seemed impossible to fill, Millen was faced with constant pressure. This immediate defense led to minimal first downs and a total of 7 sacks. Clay turned the ball over twice in the process, the first being an interception to open the game. On a more positive note, though, he was able to finish 16 for 20 with 137 yards, also managing to scramble for a 12-yard rush. Regardless of an increasing Michigan score and a donut for CSU, spirits seemed to remain high. This determination led to a 34-yard touchdown connection down the line for a late-game score. Without this touchdown, the Green and Gold would have gotten shut out for the first time in almost a decade. The first quarterback we faced from Michigan, starter Cade McNamara, only saw about half the game before being replaced by second-string J.J. McCarthy. Regardless of the changes behind center, the Wolverines did their damage with their rushing yards, totaling 234 yards by the time the clock struck 0. This was led by running back Blake Corum and his 76-yard touchdown run. McCarthy was one of the 3 Michigan rushers to reach 50 yards, running into the end zone for 20 yards in the process to widen the gap of the game even further. Post-game, Jay Norvell seemed hopeful as to what to expect from the team in the upcoming games back here on campus.
It's a little bit of too much too soon for us to be able to face a team of this quality this early. Good football team. I thought we did some good things. The game was pretty much penalty-free on our side of the ball, and I was proud of that. Clay took care of the ball offensively on the most part. He had one bad read in the game where he didn't really see the role of the coverage. But for a guy playing in his first game, I thought he did a lot of good things.
The speed and successful execution of Michigan definitely took CSU by surprise. But like Coach Norvell said, there were also some good things. If Millen can take care of the ball effectively next week, I like their chances. Speaking of which, Middle Tennessee comes to FOCO to battle the Rams in Canvas Stadium for Colorado State's first home game of the season. Now, if Todd Centeio and JMU can beat them, then why can't we? I know Norvell and Millen would appreciate all of the student body's support to make this a much better season than last. Mike, after seeing the spread was at 30 points, I knew that good things were not to come, but I did not think it was going to be that bad.
I can't say I'm surprised. I was not expecting anything. So.
I kind of was hoping for the best after March Madness last year, going down against Michigan then too. But Clay Millen just didn't even have a chance to throw the ball.
I guess Michigan just owns CSU.
Our O-line was non-existent, and he had to scramble, run, or throw the ball away almost every time we had the ball.
Yeah.
That you're not going to win a game like that, especially
never.
not against a good team.
No. And now, on to the other kind of football. The soccer team was straight up dominant on the defensive side of the ball, only allowing 1 shot from the opposing Southeast Missouri State Redhawks. The Rams didn't waste any time, with Kendra Gibson opening the scoring in the 18th minute. Then, just a few minutes later, Liv Layton swerved through defenders for a breakaway goal. However, the game did seem to slow down after that, with 90-degree temperatures and intense sunshine beaming down. But the Rams continued to play strong, keeping up the pressure so much that they actually didn't even allow a shot on goal until the last 20 minutes of regulation. The Rams came out firing, totaling 10 shots, but as I mentioned, it wasn't the offense that was the story, it was the defense. I mean, I would say CSU goalkeeper Emily Gavilit had an amazing shutout performance, but when your team only allows just 1 shot on goal, what do you expect? Anyway, the skewed corner kick ratio also demonstrated the Rams' overwhelming threat on the attack. The girls improved to 3-1 on the young season and will continue their home stretch this week with matches first against Montana on Thursday, followed by Denver on Sunday. Head coach Keely Hegan and company will hope to reciprocate their stellar defense and explosive offense in those matchups.
When we come back, Rams, we'll hear from CTV reporter Ruby Kaiser about the latest results from Fort Collins High School football. Stay tuned.
I wasn't.
Yeah, they didn't really make it